We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That, of course, is the famous second paragraph of the Declaration of Independence. It's a concept that's at the core, the very foundation of American society and government. The idea that your rights are inherently yours, that they pre-exist government, thus they aren't created by or given by government. They were always there, and government is built to secure them. Rights establish government. Government does not establish rights. That is the framework upon which our entire founding and constitution are built. Still, this idea is frequently challenged in my email inbox and in my Twitter mentions. These are people arguing, hey, that all sounds great, but it's nothing more than flowery language. The reality is that your rights are in fact a social construct. Humans invent them, humans codify them. Your rights only exist as long as humans agree about them and decide to protect them. In short, there are those of you arguing that there's nothing natural about natural rights at all. They are, in fact, unnatural human creations. So yeah, this video is going to be sort of fart-sniffy philosophy, but understand I'm not making this video for the sniffs. I'm not making this video so we can all congratulate each other on what impressive intellectuals we are. I'm making this video for the incredible importance of getting the answer to this question right. This debate is so fundamental not only to our country, but to the concepts of human rights and human liberty generally, so it's wise to take some time to explain the concept in detail. Why exactly are your natural rights yours and not society's? And what's so natural about them? Where in nature do they supposedly come from? And how can natural rights possibly be objectively defined? Those are all fair questions, and to those of you arguing the other side of this one, I can see why that language in the Declaration might not be satisfactory. We hold these truths to be self-evident, delivered by a creator. That sort of argument isn't usually satisfying to a curious mind. It sounds more poetic than it does explanatory. Why are these truths self-evident? And how do we know that the origin is a creator? In Jefferson's defense, he was building a country, not necessarily writing new philosophy. The foundation was already laid by thinkers before him. He was simply building upon it. And hey, it's hard to dispute the success of that construction. The Declaration did what it was supposed to do. In my view, the case for natural rights is best broken down into two segments, two separate but interrelated arguments. The first is the objective truth of it, the natural origin of your natural rights. And the second is the consequences for ignoring that truth. So let's get into it. What I think a lot of people find dissatisfying about that self-evident truth and endowed by a creator language is it doesn't necessarily give you a traceable path to the origin of your so-called natural rights. It sounds like you're just supposed to take it as true, almost as a matter of faith. In this context, though, endowed by a creator could also be phrased as existing in nature. Natural rights have an objective, observable basis in nature. They are inherent to nature, not simply invented and attributed to it. This is John Locke's basic thinking that was heavily influential on our founders. Consider what we call a state of nature. Humans existing in a world free from government, free from organized society, the total anarchy of the unsettled wild. In such a place, what is it that guides us? What is it that we're driven to do? What is our purpose with only the forces of nature acting upon us? Nothing but survival, nothing but self-preservation, nothing but living to see tomorrow while we make more of us through the night. That natural drive for the preservation and the construction of your life and your property, that is what we call natural law. Nobody put you up to that purpose. You didn't decide on that purpose. It is innately within you. It's an inherent natural part of being a human being. And so it follows that any person violating that purpose, robbing you of the pursuit of your life or property, is violating natural law. That is a violation of the natural rights you are exercising according to that natural drive within you. That's why we call these natural rights. These are what humans are driven to do before societies or governments ever exist. Accordingly, it is wise to build a government that exists to recognize and secure human nature, not a government that exists to mold humans into some sort of subjective perfection. Let me be clear that I don't think the argument that a certain idea is dangerous is sufficient in and of itself. I care, and we all should care, about the truth first and foremost, not the potential negative consequences of the truth. The truth is always worth seeking, and we'll clean up the mess later. But the truth leads to prosperity far more than it leads to suffering. That's exactly why I believe the concept of natural rights is so strongly associated with prosperous society. It's successful because it's true. I hope I convinced you of that in the prior segment. Maybe not, though. Maybe you still think it's all just poetic fluff, and your rights really are nothing more than subjective social creations we all just decide and agree upon. There are significant consequences for operating under that theory, though. Consider the implications of that premise, that you have no rights that are inherent to you, only government permission slips, whether these rights are decided by a king's decree or a democratic majority vote. You get the freedom that they say you get, and that's all you're entitled to. Under this framework, your rights are the property of society. Society created them, society owns them, and society can take them away, and there's no inherent injustice in stripping those rights. They were never yours in the first place. If I let you borrow my car indefinitely, I can take that car back whenever I like, on whatever terms I like, and there's no inherent injustice in doing that because it's my property. Under this framework, the same is true for every right that you have, up to and including your life itself. Your very right to life is the property of society, and you just have to hope that society manages its property nicely, and you have no recourse if they don't, since it isn't your property anyway. If society decides to toss its property to the bottom of the dumpster, that's society's decision, and they're within their rights. And the consequences don't just impact our relationship with government, they impact our relationships with each other as well. If I observe natural law and deduce from it that you have a right to your life and your property that I would be wrong to infringe upon, that's an objective moral framework through which you and I can operate successfully. There's a right way for me to treat you, and there's a wrong way for me to treat you, and we've arrived at that conclusion based on what is observably true in nature, not based on any one random person's feelings spitballed at the wall. It's a structure that says nature determines right and wrong. Humans don't simply create it. If instead we operate under the idea that humans create right and wrong, then it's simply human agreement that defines morality. There is no inherent rightness or wrongness in how I choose to treat you. It just depends on who agrees with me. If I murder you and the king is on my side, there's no inherent wrong committed. If I murder you and 51% of people don't have a problem with it, there's no inherent wrong committed. That's a recipe for moral relativism, where what's right here today is wrong over there tomorrow, not based on anything observably true about the world, just based on the feelings of the person who's in position to decide at the time. That is chaos. That's injustice. That's atrocity. That's suffering. In closing, let's expand upon that concept with a hypothetical. Let's say there are two neighboring states, one normal state in which cold-blooded murder is criminalized, and another weird state in which cold-blooded murder is perfectly legal and culturally nobody really has a problem with it. Murder away. It's like Las Vegas for killers. Is murder morally wrong in the first state, but morally right in the second? Is it merely the human creation of laws and cultural norms that makes that decision? Or is murder inherently wrong in both states? It's just a question of whether the humans there choose to acknowledge that objective reality. If you believe that it's inherently wrong in both places, regardless of whatever the people there say, that is a natural law position. It's not that people just got together and decided that murder is wrong. It's that murder fundamentally violates your purpose as a human being. That's why it's wrong. Not because any particular group of humans says so, but because it's contrary to nature. That's why our country is built the way it is. And that's why it's so crucial to start with nature and build government upon it, not start with government and try to rebuild nature from there. I hope this video explained these concepts in an understandable way, and I gotta say thank you to those of you who challenged me on it. You've demonstrated exactly why no idea should be shielded from criticism or challenge. My mind hasn't changed on this topic, but thanks to you, my perspective on it has really sharpened, and that outcome is just as valuable as changing minds. Natural rights and objective right and wrong are often difficult, amorphous concepts we sort of know to be true at a gut level, even if we can't explain them very well. This was a great exercise in explaining them. Not only is it a good feeling to know exactly why you believe what you believe, I think it's actually an obligation for any intellectually honest person. So thanks for holding me to that standard. And of course, any rebuttals from you moral relativist degenerates out there are always welcome. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel always. Appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below and especially over on Twitter. That is at ML Christiansen. You're always welcome to coming out and chat in my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it. Goodbye.